Yeah, hello. Good morning. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. How are you? I'm in a meeting. Alhamdulillah. Good. Okay, talk to you. Hello, can you hear me? So I had this. I had that like the background noise some couple of minutes ago. Now I can't hear you again. But can you hear me? You can hear me. Because I had the song that was playing before. Now I can't hear you as you're speaking. Are you muted? Because the music that I was playing from 20 something till countdown till zero, the other time I was actually hearing that sound. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Oh,
Now,
good.
okay.
Yes. Oh,
Alhamdulillah. I was worried. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy. And I'm sorry for the short delay. I was actually moving from one place to the other.
We are glad to have you here and to finally hear you. So let's just start already because you've taken a lot of time waiting and waiting and waiting. So thank
Yeah.
you. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So thank you. Today I think the topic we'll be looking at environment a critical factor in building a healthy home. It's quite instructive. It's important and it's something that relates with everybody. I mean, the reason being that at one point or the other, everybody has to live in an environment. You don't live in isolation, and you actually have to relate and engage with some other things, both the biotic and the abiotic factors. And at the same time, when you look at the family, to be precise, healthy family, it's a common wish, it's a common goal of everybody. And even people that have different gender orientation now, we see that they are also gravitating towards having like a healthy family in whatever form of their sexual orientation they claim. You see gay family, you see gay couples, you see them talking about having a home that they really desire. So I think it's a very important topic that, irrespective of which side of spectrum you fall into, you really want to have a very good and healthy family. We thank God for the opportunity of life, and I want to thank you for what you're doing to inspire the generations, younger generations that would like to emulate better value system, and at the same time be a better version of themselves, so as to assist in the development of our immediate community and the community at large. So I would like to I want to assume my audience actually cut across several forms and several level of understanding and exposure. So what I mean that my assumption is that my audience is like across several shades. So you can just give me like a brief synopsis about what currently my audience analysis
Okay.
is like. Yeah.
From the statistics, we have at least over 38% of those that are between the ages of 30 to 34.
Okay.
You just have the age gap of between 20 to 65.
Oh, thank
But
you.
the larger
So I
percent
think that's
falls in
fine.
the millennials. Millennials are the larger percent.
So
The millennials
I
are the
bother
larger
with
percent.
pardon
The millennials happen to be the
millennials.
larger percentage,
Oh,
yes.
okay. So thank you so much. And what that informs me is how to really structure my talk. So now, quickly, without wasting much time again, when we ask ourselves, what exactly do we call environmental factors that affect healthy family living? Now, on a very broad sense, environmental factors can be categorized into the biotic one and the abiotic one. The biotic ones are the ones that actually has to do with the life, and the abiotic ones are the ones that are non I mean, that doesn't have to do with life, so to say. And when we look at the family as an entity, like I mentioned earlier in my introduction speech, you discover that having a healthy family is a common yearning for everybody because of the environment where we live, the environment where we stay. I would just like I wouldn't make it like too rhetorical in form of an academic sense. I will try to just go straight to some very vital points that I know that will resonate mostly with our audience. That is the teenagers and the younger generations, especially probably those that are just getting into marriage or those that are looking forward into marriage. Now, when we talk about healthy family, why is it so important in our lives? If anybody gets it right at the family level, most fundamentally, that person will like to get it right in all other spheres of human endeavor. And that is why in anything you're doing, for most cases, even in corporate entities or whatever, I mean, people will really want to know what is your marital status. And you ask yourself, why is it that most of the time when you fill some forms, maybe governmental forms, one or two things, they ask you about your marital status? It means a whole lot. They want to know who exactly you are. Because when you have a healthy family, when you have a healthy family, you are most likely, you are most likely uh, not going to pass through mental stress, which have been identified as a major issue in our generation. You know, in the days of our forefathers, we discovered that so many things that we have in our own current dispensation now, I mean, some of them are not too much. I'm not saying we don't have some of those concerns, some of those challenges, but the rate at which you have some concerns, especially medical concerns, in our own generation, calls for a review of what we call our modern day lifestyle. What are those environmental factors that are very, very critical to building our healthy family? The very foremost one I want to talk about is the emotional state. To my audience, if I ask you, what role do you think your emotional state is going to play in your day-to-day interpersonal relationship, either your spousal relationship or probably your dating relationship? What exactly does it look like? How do you behave, or how are you most likely going to behave when you are mentally stressed and when you are not mentally stressed? I decided to start with this because I realized that for most part of where we come from, people don't really talk too much about mental health. Some couple of years ago, not until now, and we start talking about it now when we start seeing a lot of like the rate of suicidal attempts and suicidal occurrences. But we need not wait till that before we start picking up our pen and paper and putting on our thinking cap to really talk about emotional state. The emotional stress you go through every day has a whole lot to do in affecting the what the building of your wish or your dream healthy family. And how do we deal with this? The most important thing is that everybody has to know is boundaries. I'll paint a very simple scenario for you. If you stay in a particular place and you have to commute, for example, like X number of hours to get to your daily workplace, let's assume you commute like 2.5 hours or 3 hours to get to your workplace. My dear brothers and sisters, most likely you must have gone through a whole lot of stress in the traffic or in whatever situation you find yourself before you get to work. And when you commit back again, probably with another 1.5 or 2 hours, effectively nothing less than 3 hours is gone out of your 24 hours. You are knocked down, you are not a better version of yourself, and you are back home, you have a family, you have a bubbling kids, you have your spouse that you really want to have very quality time with. How are you going to cope? My foremost advice is this: And that starts from what exactly we call the environmental what the emotional factors that really affect our state of well-being and dovetail to the fact that our healthy family existence is actually threatened. I want a situation whereby everybody will be able to sit back and actually ask, what exactly is my mental stress limit? Whatever puts you on stress, whatever triggers your mental well-being, you really need to be worried about that. And as an individual, there is no uniform and standard metrics for everybody. Some people are so resilient that they can actually cope. They have a very strong coping mechanism. A very strong coping mechanism. You are not others. Others are not you. You really need to know who exactly you are and what are those things that really affect you. What are those things that are triggers that can affect your sharp emotional state of balance? I'll give a very simple example. Some people they know how to actually take away stress out of their body. I mean, as simple as some people just having a very good deep sleep. Some people probably just like going for a walk and having very good fresh air. Just relax and take off themselves from the normal, very busy routine that is draining them, that is taking away quality time from them. And to some people, they just need possibly a very good cordial relationship, a very good discussion, like somebody to talk to, somebody to open up to talk and unearth what exactly is heavy in their mind. And during the process of that discussion, naturally they just feel calm and they just feel easy. Emotional factor, emotional stress, it's something that I feel that the younger folks really start to continue looking at now. Now, I'm in a part of the world now that one of the most threatening thing is suicide, especially among teenagers. Now, when you look at the statistics of suicide among younger folks in United States now is actually going up. I mean, on the rise, and that's why. I mean, I was talking to somebody when I said I looked at the ID card of my kids' school fees and of my the ID card of my of my kids' school, and I observed that right behind the hotline that was put there is suicide hotline. That if you're having like any form of suicidal thought, please call this line. And I know that they must have done that not just because of anything, but because of data that has spoken to them, because of the fact that they've seen so many sharp trends of how people just decide to take their own life and they call it quit. That is the government doing what they're supposed to do. But back home, before you see the kid going through emotional stress, before they could actually think of a suicidal thought, there is something bigger that is happening in that home, in the home in itself, probably between the father and the mother, or generally the ambience, which I'm still going to talk about. So one thing is very, very critical, one thing is very, very vital. Our emotional state of mind, it's something that is very pivotal, it is foundational. You can go ahead to achieve and consolidate on your dreams if you have a dysfunctional emotional state of mind. And these are factors that most often than not, we really don't want to talk about it. Because the very first thing that comes to the table when we talk about environmental factors is that people want to talk about the ambience. Or what's your immediate neighborhood looking like? What's the economic stratification of your immediate neighborhood? And who are those that are your neighbors? I mean, we defer so many things to the external factors, forgetting the fact that there are some factors that are actually dwelling with us ourselves. As parents or as young kids, as teenagers looking up to become parents in the nearest future, you need to be very clear about how best you can handle your emotional state of mind. That's the very first point. And hopefully, maybe I can still come back to this to talk more. I can even share some more statistics, probably when we're having probably question and answer, or whatever session we have. The other point I also want to speak up is that when you look at what makes the family what it is, you will discover that it's not just the tutelage alone that is being received by the kids. It is not just the understanding that the couples are sharing a loan at home, among themselves alone at home. Sometimes ago, I had the opportunity to engage some kids. they are largely between 13 and 18 years. Yes, largely between 13 and 18 years, and over 60% of them, very large number of them anyway, over an overwhelming number of them are actually females. And we're actually asking them, what are those things that bothers you too much every time? Mark you, they are living, I mean, where they live, they don't really have problem of there is no light, there's no this, there's no that. So I'm just trying to paint a scenario for you. They they are not, poverty is out of, they don't actually have like an experience of what poverty looks like. I would say that, like, over, let me say over 99% or up 99.9%. They are not born into like a world where they don't even know how to have a balanced diet. No, because even if their parents cannot afford it, the government already have mechanism to take care of them. So I'm just trying to give you a background that economic factor is still going to come to that. But let me paint a picture of those that do not even have economic struggles. And we ask them between ages 13 and 18 years, most of them are females. And we start seeing so many things. Number one of the major concerns they are having is identity crisis, homosexuality, LGBTQ. You see that 1 out of every 5 of them probably have a friend that have a different gender orientation. And there is this tacit acceptance and approval that you don't speak, you don't say anything untoward about them. And at times, when they bring forth things that question your own moral sense of inclination, you start asking yourself as a young kid that, and after all, what I've been told all the while about something being male and female all alone, could it be true? But I've gotten a friend that tells me how he feels or how she feels. That genuinely, a love can only be seen in a fellow female gender. And we started bringing up this conversation. We realized that a whole lot has to do with who exactly are your peers, social factors, your peers, your immediate friends, your neighbor. Who are those that are your friends? Who are those that your peer pressure, so to say? They made this a very vital point. Identity crisis. Who exactly do you think you are? And don't you think that your value system is probably like, is it not too rigid? Why would somebody have to tell me that I don't have to have a taste of it until somebody walk me down to the altar, until I do my nikah, until my father and my mother conveniently allow me to get married? Why wouldn't I explore my body? My other friends are exploring their body. That's number one, homosexuality. The other one is harassment. Harassment from fellow peers, harassment from other genders, and some other things like that, mounting pressure on them. How are you going to do? How are you going to cope with this thing? These are very real issues. And let me say that even this point I'm going to make here now, this topic on its own, it's a whole lot of series. Domesticating it back home. We must never lose sight that we are in a digital village. Whatever you see in any part of the world, just assume it is right there knocking behind your doors. How do you nurture your kids? How do you build a home with a very healthy value system? How do you do that? Peer pressure. It's left to you to know how best you educate your kids in a way that they don't go outside to be vulgar and unduly rude to people of different orientation. That's number one. And at the same time, they will be bold enough to be able to rise up to defend what exactly is their own value system. Identity crisis is real. And that's why you see a child, the kids of Alaji, the kids of Alajas, the kids of pastors, brought up in a home where they will always kneel down and pray. They will always cover their head because that is their mom is there. But the moment they are out on campus, the moment they are out on colleges, they really want to explore themselves. We need to ask ourselves, what methodology are we actually using to impart our value system on our kids? Coercion probably is not going to work. The coercion may actually just survive, may actually suffice for them to probably keep mute when you are yelling at them. But when they are independent on their own, are you sure that that value system is still with them? That's the second point I want to talk about. The peer pressure. The third one is economy. And I want to speak about economy because in most part of the world, well, I mean, my overwhelming number of my audience would be, we're actually experiencing quite a lot, especially with subsidy removal and some other things like that. To all young parents that will ever watch this, or aspiring parents, I want to encourage you that protecting whatever God has put under your care, it's a divine role and responsibility that you actually have to do. We've seen how the future of young girls have actually been threatened just because somebody asked them to walk around. And I want to say this emphatically. I want to say this again emphatically. Providing for the family in a manner that befits the least sense of modesty, it's one thing you must always strive and pray towards in your life. As a young couple, you need to have a very good conversation about how do you want to structure the economies of your family. You know, gone are those days when somebody says that it is never heard of. How will my wife know how much you are earning? I mean, that means you're a very problematic personality. It is so sad that we even have spouses who keep accounts. I don't know what to think about life anyway. And you have an account and your wife is not in the know of it and your husband is not in the know of it. Go and ask people in the bank and go and ask how many unclaimed assets that are there that the banks are just turning over using for themselves. Economic factor is real. It's very, very real. And this actually have a very glaring consequences in so many things. Number one is that when you go get an accommodation and your caretaker taking you to go and look at the area, you already seen guys smoking in their smoking whips. And they tell you that, oh yeah, you want 150,000 house, I'll help you get one. And they start taking you to corner, and just at the end of some miles, they get you a place. Boom. When you peep outside, what you're seeing are horrible scenes. My dear brothers and sisters, how do you want to nurture giants, great minds, when you have actually took them to the deepest part of human existence? This is something that's very, very important. And as a young couple starting up the family, because I mean, from the audience analysis, a lot of us are millennials, and at a point in time in our life, we need to make that frantic decision. Don't be somebody that is a spendthrift early in your life. You must develop that culture of frugality, saving pennies. And you also need to know that prioritization is one of the most important qualities that a lot of us are lacking. You know, there was a time I was organizing free IT training for folks. I mean, empowerment through information technology. Just guys come and learn Oracle. I have my other very good brother, Taiwo Kafu, teaching networking and others like that. This is we're teaching for free. That skills that I was teaching, I paid over 250,000 for you to learn it in Haptech, Maryland. Over 250,000. I'm talking of several years ago anyway. That was in the early 20s, early 2000, and that should be around 2007, 2006, 2007. I paid over 250,000 naira to learn it. And when I got in the industry in the telecom, I realized that when you do interview for people, they don't even know this thing. And I understand. These are skill set that for most cases, if you don't invest heavily to go and learn in a place where they have the facility to train you, the other place you can only learn is in the working environment. But here is a deadlock. If you don't have the skill set, you cannot get in the working environment because you don't have skills. Then I say, okay, I'll devote my weekend. Let's train people. Just teach people how to use some of these tools. And I will see kids, I will see teenagers, young adults coming to me that, sir, Mr. Idris, I want to learn this thing, but I don't have a laptop. So if I'm offering free training, you also want me to offer. And actually, apparently, we have a scheme that when we look at people that come from a very, very disadvantaged family, I have some network of friends that, okay, we can put money together and give them laptop. But when somebody comes to me, you have a BlackBerry, you also have another big Nokia, very big phones, that the cumulative amount of that, the price of your phone is enough to get you a very good laptop to work. And you are telling me you don't have laptop, and and right there, padded in your hands are two big phones. What are you doing with two big phones at your age? Who are those calling you? And what are those calls really amount to? TikTok for 7 hours? My God. In economic planning, you really have to know and ask yourself, what exactly do you want to do? And you need to start very early. Don't assume that somebody somewhere will just come and start managing some very bad manners that you have actually grown up with. No man, in his clear sense, we see a prodigal behavior in a particular woman and will be comfortable with it. No woman, in his clear sense, we see a man that is just given to like spending without caution, that will be comfortable with that kind of guy. I'm saying it because I know that economic factor plays a whole lot of things. A teacher was telling me, he said at times when you look at the bags of some kids, you discover that right from home there is a problem. There's a problem. What you see in the bags, maybe dead roaches, dead this, dead that, you know that there's a problem right there in the home. How do you want a kid to grow nourishingly, emotionally, very well, when you have actually denied this kid? And by the way, there is a publication that talks about the most important 1,000 days in our life. That the nutrient, the nourishment we give to our kids in the first 1,000 days of their life is one of the greatest things you can do to them in life. If you plan to have a family, my esteemed audience, I can share the link of that paper. You need to know that the nutrients you give to your kids at the age of brain formation, they are very, very important. You know, we are in a part of the world that it is the parent that take 2 meat, and the kids will not take, they will take shishin, nothing as their meat. You need to know that when you have a young kid at a very early age, you need to give them the best and not best, a very good balanced diet. When you deny them this, you deny them adequate brain formation. And somebody asked us that why is it that when you look at the Forbes rich list, the largest number of billionaires are actually in United States of America? Somebody asked that for several years now we've been having the top guys, the top 10, most of them are actually from United States of America. Let me tell you one logic. If there's anything United States of America has done, and I'm saying this modestly, I mean, I'm not disparaging my home country. I love Nigeria. They will never allow any kids to go malnourished. In the state where I am, there's what we call women, infant, and child care. They call it WIC. When they look at your economic level and you don't have what it takes, honestly, to God who made me, right there, since you are in pregnancy, they'll be sending balanced diet to you. Because they know that what makes your baby grow very well, and this is science, I'm telling you, this science. And I'm also going to broadcast this for you in Islamic monotheism, if time permits. They will start sending balanced diet to you to make sure that what you are eating while you are pregnant will not make you to give birth to somebody that is malnourished. Do you know this is why they tell pregnant women not to smoke, not to drink? Don't forget the umbilical cord channel so many things you take to your kid. That's what they do. Even when you give birth, they will be giving you so many food and materials to take care of your kids. I'm telling you. Every month, they'll give you a card that you can use to get this, to get that, vegetable, fruits, everything. Just go, you not pay a dime. Do you know what they're doing? Let me tell you. I have a very good brother of mine. I'm proud. I think it was here yesterday. He said, the whole essence of that is that, Dr. Jalil, he said, the whole essence of that is that they don't want you to nurture a nuisance for us in the community. Because when we allow your kids to grow malnourishingly, to grow retardedly, when you allow your kids to become a nuisance, you're going to affect those that have invested heavily in their kids. And what they have actually tried to do is that, come, let's take care of everybody. Well, for whatever reason, either for you not to disturb those that are okay, or for you not to create nuisance in their community. But in any way, they take care of that. Women, infant, and child, right from pregnancy, they take care of their pregnant women. If your economic stratification so shows that you need it, and even when the baby is born, at the younger age, forget about it, they take care of it. Free health. And they ask your kids to visit the dentist even before growing any milk teeth. You know why they do this? Formative age. That's where I'm going. Economic factor is very, very important. You need to plan the economy of your family very well. You need to protect that little angel that God has given unto you. And I ask myself, you see parents buying so many clothing of Owambe, that they probably wear it for once in a month. And they don't really bother about what are those things I'm putting on the table for my kids. Spending spree. You go to the party, you spend money, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. There are bigger concerns that you should be worried about. And even when the kids go to school, they make sure they feed them nourishingly, breakfast and what? And lunch. You know why? They don't want any kids to become malnourished. And that was why when Bill Gates came to Nigeria some couple of years ago, they did a model. He said University of Washington student made those model for him. Salam, sir. You're welcome, sir. I'm sorry, please. He said they did a model of what the brain development looks like of a malnourished child at the very early stage of life, and what the brain development of a well-nourished child looks like. And he was actually talking to the president then. I don't know who was the president then. Was it President Obasanjo or Jonathan? He's telling them that if there's anything we really need to do, feed your younger generation very healthy meal at their brain development stage. We all know that this brain development happens rapidly at their very early stage. It will never go on forever. In fact, if you understand the concept of sigmoid curve, you get to a stage in life that you actually start degenerating. But when your brain is forming, when your kid's brain is forming, my dear brother, your recharge card on your phone does not really matter. The clothing you put on does not really matter. Be very meticulous about the protein you put on the table for your kids. Be very meticulous about the games. What are the toys your kids are actually playing with? You know, there are some games that when your kids playing with, you're actually developing their cognitive skills. And these are things when you ask people that are experts in this play, they will tell you that, oh, let your kids play with this, let your kids play with this. Developing cognitive skills. Do you know, let me quickly tell you this. Elon Musk said that my kids are not going to conventional schools. They are going to schools that I actually founded myself. I know what I want them to become. I know what I'm teaching them. Elon Musk said that. He said his kids are going to the schools he has founded himself. And what I've actually seen here, the rich guy in United States of America, they are investing heavily in early childhood education. You know why? You know why? Get it wrong then, and you continue to have a patchy hogwash. All the rich guys that I've ever known in this country, United States, the bulk of their billions in donation goes to what? A considerable number of it goes to education, early childhood education. It's a very, very critical factor in building a healthy family. And why is it that we have a very vast number of Nobel in one part of the world, and we don't have so much of those in another part of the world? Our priority as a family has to change. We need to stop this idea of like everything about the family. You are planning your family, you need to please others. Who are those others to you? My God, I mean, for God's sake, who are they? The little angels God has given unto you. Even in our own Holy Quran and the tradition of our own Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we were taught about how the stages of embryological development, neonatal development. Where do we put this when we are nurturing our younger kids? Economic factor is real, and it affects so many things. It affects where you're able to live, and when you live in a slum, you relate with what? With criminals. And when you live with criminals, I mean, most likely, except by the divine will of God, you see your kids emulating that similar trait. And when you live in a place where there are no people that are visionaries, people that are forward looking, people that are looking to become the Bill Gates of tomorrow, your kids will never share that vision. Your kid will not share that vision. Your kid will not share that vision. So I want to talk about this for now. Yeah, there are some other factors I would actually have loved to speak about, but because I'm pretty much aware of the fact that these are very cogent parts of the point, and for some other points, I mean, probably we can just look at it when there are question and answer. So for now, let me just um, put the cap here and allow probably feedback and some when there are some other comment, maybe I can elucidate more on another point that I didn't mention. Just to recap it, number one is that you need to be very clear, very, very clear about the fact that mental state of mind is number one. And I put that deliberately as number one. I know a lot of people say economy, this and I'm very much aware of the fact that where you live affects so many things. Your economy determines so many things. For several years, I was working in Banana Island. You see, forget about it. When you nurture somebody in Banana Island, and early in the morning, what that person sees is two young couple holding their hands together, jogging, doing exercise early in the morning. That's what he has grown up to see. And you nurture somebody else in another part of the world, another part of the slum, that when he steps out, he can only hear the oozing smoke of what? Baraga, Igbo, and others like that. Honestly, two different things is happening in their life. I can tell you that. But even at that, I decided to make mental health number one. Because while I was back home in Nigeria, I do visit, while I was in school to be specific, I do visit Yaba Psychiatric Hospital. I know what it means when people are not mentally stable. Honestly, I know what it means when people are not mentally stable. The other part I mentioned, I encourage everybody, the mental health of both the guy and the lady, the spouses, is very, very important. You need to find a way to address your mental state of mind. The other part I also mentioned is the peer pressure. If you have a kid or you have a young little ones, identity crisis is real. And I see some mistakes some Nigerians are always doing. They get on social media and they like, you people in abroad, hey, see what is happening. Homosexual. There is nothing on the world in any side of the world that is not at the back of your door. We are in a digital world now. Everything you see in anywhere in the world is actually right behind your doorstep. And the other factor that I spoke about so much is the economic factor, especially how we take care of our younger ones in the first 1,000 days of their life. Brain development stage, it's very, very important. So, and I will stop there for now. Thank you so much. I'll be eager to take feedback and comments.
Thank you very much, sir, for that profound insight into the things that we need to consider when we are talking about critical building a healthy family.
And I like the fact that you came from the angle of the science, because science never lies. For you to know, it's just like projection. If you want to have a child who is healthy in terms of their mental health, in terms of how they think, you have to consider this environment as a factor. You have to consider that environment. And I like the fact that you mentioned all of that. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your time with us. Thank you for being here. I don't know if you have questions. Please drop your questions. Drop your questions. Okay, now I think somebody sent a question to me personally. Now that we are now we are not in the abroad. We are currently in Nigeria for many of us. So now we don't have any facility. We don't have any government paying attention to us. And we actually want these things that you're talking about. At least let me just somebody that will just tell me that no, every month, so let me come and be keeping you this that we used to support your family. How do we go about it? How do we live within our reality?
How do we do
Can
what?
we live within How can we live within our reality as Nigerians? Nigeria.
No, honestly, Nigeria is a very wonderful place. Honestly, wallahi azim. I live in Nigeria for most part of my early life, my career life. So Nigeria is a very wonderful place. One thing I've discovered is that a lot of people they have crisis in making what exactly is their priority. For example, now the most important quality things you need in life, you need to have that conversation with your spouse. What are the most critical things for us in our family? I'll paint a very simple picture for you. Before you actually decide on where you're gonna stay as a family, when you want to put up your family home and address, it should not be about you alone. And I've seen guys that are so selfish that the only thing they're just considering is proximity to their work. There's so many things you have to consider. Number one is that which school will my kids attend in that neighborhood? And when choosing schools, you see, the value you get in the school of your kid is not in most cases directly proportional to the cost, to the school fees, the amount you pay. Quality at times you see it in different shades. So you need to look at your budget, you need to look at everything possible. And for example, I'm aware there is no light, or probably there is light, there is no petrol, this and that. You can actually structure your finance so much so that you know that every night, probably our kids go to bed by 9 o'clock, between 7 and 9, we always put on the gen. Let's put this budget around. Lock it down in the family. Or you know that at also time is a screen time for your kids and you don't want to deny them
It's my
this.
network. I can't hear him again.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you
Wow.
now. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
So I said you can actually live very good and quality life in Nigeria, honestly. And there is actually nothing wrong there in Nigeria. The most important thing we need to do is to set our priority. Priority. Set your priority very well. A lot of us, we are giving to like mundane things, buying things that are just mere needs and not our wants. And if you have kids in your family, if you have babies, you have younger ones, you have children, your priority has to come in a form that the foremost thing on the list should be your what? Your younger ones. Because at that stage, when you deny them anything, you are most likely going to cause irreparable damage for them. So there are several ways you can actually do it in Nigeria. If you ask some exact specific question, I can actually suggest to you. So the most important thing is that you come together, understand what exactly your finances are, and you plan as such. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I'm yet to receive any question from our audience. I think perhaps your explanation was quite precise and direct. So that's why we don't have any questions. I don't know if you have parting words for us, just so we can call it a day. You have 30 minutes more to go to the end of the session normally before. But since there are no questions coming in, perhaps you should just share your parting words and we call it a day. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, my parting word, yeah. So I didn't mention some of these things. Hoping that maybe if people have some comment and question is that now we are at a stage where to build a healthy family now, we need to rethink our parenting strategy. So I once did a questionnaire for a number of kids, and I was like asking about what exactly are your relationship like. I mean, when you look at you as a teenager and at the same time your parents, have you ever lied before to your parents? And what makes you to lie? Solving the problem of identity crisis. I didn't actually go to how to solve the problem of identity crisis. One of the foremost things that we've actually discovered is that you need to be the best friend of your kids. And if you have a younger one that is a teenager, bros, I actually advise you that you need to retool your strategy. There is this problem of who exactly are the confidant of our younger generation. Strive to be that for your younger one, especially if you have a daughter. This identity crisis is real and it comes in different shades, based on your geographic location. Homosexuality may be more prevalent right here where we are in this part of the Western world, but back home in Nigeria, there are several things that may be prevalent. Promiscuity, bad companionship like cultism and others like that. You really want to make sure that if your kids have anything that is broaching their mind, they want to talk to you first. If your younger one has something that is broaching their mind, they want to talk to you first. I want to make this very emphatic. You need to really retool that strategy. Like something like that. You need to retool that strategy such that in any point at any stage in life, you will be the first they're going to confide in and tell what exactly is bothering their mind. Imagine a younger one going to meet somebody without any value system whatsoever to open up their heart and to give them guidance in life. And this is what happens a lot of time. Some of our younger ones goes to teachers that they feel that they can confide in to seek for guidance, Irshad. And at the end of the day, they actually end up what misleading them. So the parental role has to step up. We need to step up our game. To build a healthy family, we need to have a very healthy parenting skill. We need to retool our parenting strategy. It's not just about bash, boast all the time. Where's the incentive scheme? What do you give as incentives? This week I canceled I canceled the swimming class of my kids. I said, okay, because you have done something, no more swimming class for this week. So after on Friday, when we left the Juma service on Friday, my boy started talking me to daddy. So today is Friday. Today is the end of the week. I said no. The week start from Monday to Sunday. He said no. The work week start from Monday to Friday. I said no. I'm not using the working days. Typically, a new week starts on Sunday. So your ban is still from what now till the end of Saturday. When we now get to Sunday, we'll now review that week whether you go for your swimming class or not. There are several strategies we can actually use. I know that will be very painful to him, missing his swimming class. And he wanted to change whether he could still go on Saturday, that since today is Friday, and day before yesterday was Friday, that the end I said no, my own end of the week has never been Friday. In fact, Friday is like special day for me. So the weeks end on Saturday and the new week start on Sunday. There are several things we can actually use. Even screen, we can use screen to negotiate with them. We just need to find a way to endear them to us, and we must be the first person they talk to. Please take this wholeheartedly from me. There's so many things happening, especially among the younger ones. May God guide each and every one of us. And that will be my parting word for now. I also pray that God shall put our family, and because when the family is just like a microcosm of the bigger community, when the family is okay, wallahi, everything will be okay in our community. When the family nosedives in ethical values, you will see nothing in the bigger community other than what? Other than bad. Thank you so much. That will be my parting word.
Thank you very much for that, sir. That was quite profound. Thank you very much for giving us that insight. Thank you very much for sharing from your time for free and serving the community of the world. Thank you. We really appreciate your presence. There are still no questions, and I think that we have come to the end of the session. So thank you all for making this time a worthwhile session, despite the challenges that we have with network while we're about to start. Thank you for still holding on till the end. So thank you, sir. You're free to go since we don't have any question. Thank you. Samurai come to the bracket too. So to my audience, thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying till this time. I ask that all that we have learned during this session in the past 3 days becomes beneficial for us in both worlds. May it be a source of goodness for our family and for everyone who meets us. Like I usually say that we are all lights. May God, may the light, may the essence that with which God has created us, may we fulfill that light and that purpose in life. Thank you. So join me again by 5:30 p.m. while we'll round up with a closing speech from Ms. Sajijola Shakira Omobolanle. That time, we are going to be calling it a roundup of this particular conference 2023 till we'll come again in 2024 by the goodness and mercy of our Lord. Thank you. Bye.